And welcome to another episode of Buffs and Nerfs. I'm your host, Sam Hall, with my other host, or the show's other host, I guess, Andrew Lanza. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's a Saturday, doing a podcast, living the dream, as it were.
Sipping a cup of joe.
Ooh, I wish I had a cup of coffee, actually. You know what? I'm in hell. This is a living hell. I don't have my
everything
coffee.
For Sam's coffee.
This is the worst. You know what? This is the final broadcast of the entire Mind Refinery media empire.
Not accurate. Not accurate.
We're wrapping everything up. We're shuttering it down, and we're just going to start selling vegan honey at farmers markets.
Wait, that's vegan honey. How does that work?
Well, what you do is you take the honey and then you sell it and you say it's synthetic.
So it's not actually vegan honey.
No, it's a scam, Andrew. I'm ABC, always be scamming. It's like this. The C in scam is capitalized, not the S. So,
well, that's anyways, a scam. That's actually ABS then. So it's like that's the first scam.
Like I said, man, always be scamming.
Always be salmon.
Ooh.
Okay.
Wait, do you mean me or the fish?
Salmon. This is.
Anyways,
let's move on.
Let's move on. Yes. So today we are going to be talking about a trend that has started picking up in the last 10 years. I mean, I'm sure it's been around for longer than that, but it definitely picked up. We're getting to talk about something that took Hollywood about 100 years to get to, but the video game industry 10, maybe 15. And that is remakes and remasters. The current trend of taking an old game or idea and then repackaging it, whether it's a remake, which is a straight up, we have this old game, but we add new mechanics, we changed a lot about it. It's essentially the same story, the same idea, but now it's something new. Or a remaster, which is, hey, here's the old game, we made 4K textures, and that's about it. So here's your remaster. And now, actually, before we were talking, Andrew...
Hold on. I just want to say one thing. You said it took Hollywood like 100 years to get to this. Dude, Hollywood was built on remakes.
I mean, joking? In the sense of that it's now pervasive. Like, yes, they've always been remaking movies, but now it's like Hollywood is just basically looking for old ideas. Like, it's gone beyond simply like, there was this classic movie and we're updating, like the 3 versions of King Kong that have happened in the last century. But what I'm talking about is the fact that, like, Hollywood now is just like...
like
we need an idea. Let's do another Spider. Yeah, sorry. So I should have been more specific. You are right. Hollywood has always done remakes, and I'm sure they've remade everything far more than you would expect. Some movies you like are probably remakes. You don't know it, but
or even just like remakes of like foreign films, like back in the day, like Samurai
classic example. 12 Monkeys is a remake of La Jetée by.
Well,
French
I mean, La
director.
Jetée is like a short that's just like just photos essentially. I mean,
then according to our definition of video game, it is a remake. It's not a remaster.
Well, actually, it's a remaster because they went from like a medium of like still images to a full length feature film shot at probably 24 frames a second.
You see, now I'm glad that I somehow stumbled upon this wonderful cross example analogy. It's not a metaphor. It's not a simile.
Kind of smells like a segue, if you ask me.
No. Not a segue. Not a segue yet, because we're staying on topic. So, to me, a remake, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page here before going any further. To me, a remake is we took an idea and we did it vastly different. Like, we essentially took the story or the game mechanic of something.
So it is a remake. Yeah, you're right.
And a remaster is just like, here you go, it's at 4K.
Sorry,
okay, cool.
I got him backwards in my brain, in my dumb brain thing.
Hey, man, you know what? If I'd be lying if I said I don't make a stupid huge mistake every day, and that's called waking up. Cynical Generation X.
Wow. Okay. Can I just throw out one mistake from our last episode?
Talking to each other.
Well, that's just an ongoing trend, downward trend. No, we talked about our favorite games released in '98, and I didn't even mention like one of my favorite games of all time, Pokemon Red Blue. That's a mistake.
I'm disappointed. I'm kind of angry, and you know what I think we should do? We should remake the last episode. I'm getting better at this.
Or remaster. We're just get 2 new people in there, and they just like redo the conversation, but just add Pokemon in there.
I would like the delightful Sally Hawkins to do my voice. I know she's a woman, but I feel she could do justice to the same whole persona. So anyways, just before we get into the full force of this, now 6 minutes in of essentially just pure nonsense, you brought up something beforehand that I hadn't really thought about this when we were talking about the concept of a demake. Could you please explain that to me? Because when you said, I was like, oh, I don't really... I mean, I get it, but...
I was like... I feel like I struggled explaining it before, but essentially a demake is taking a current game and then remaking it with older technology, or like an older fidelity. So for instance, there's like people have like remade the Grand Theft Auto series, but in the old school Grand Theft Auto style. So it's like a remake, reimagining, but they call it like a demake. So they're not like super popular, obviously, and they're usually like fan made, but they're I feel like it's still kind of a cool thing to be like, you saw it a lot of times back in the day when you would have like a Nintendo or Super Nintendo game or whatever, or like a Sega Genesis game, and then they would essentially like demake the game.
Don't forget the 3DO.
Panasonic 3DO, shout outs, pour one out for my homie, along with the Jaguar and the
R.I.P. bro, R.I.P. Rest in Panasonic.
So you'd see that back in the day with like games where they would port games to, you know, the Genesis from the Genesis to like the Game Gear or like the Super Nintendo or NES to the Game Boy. It'd be like the same game but just like remade but nowadays, as I said, now it's a stylistic choice where it's more fan made, but it is an interesting little caveat anyway.
Well, it's interesting. I think you know about it because, like, we've talked about in many an episode, including, I think, pretty much our first one, how you grew up with consoles and I grew up on PC. So for me, you didn't really see... There was always something new. Like, PC gaming just didn't seem to be big into remakes. I'm sure there were, but not as many. But it seems like, since you were aware of multiple formats, like multiple... consoles and handhelds and stuff like that, it feels like you were exposed to it more than I was. So that's interesting. It's good to know. I mean, I think for our conversation... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go. I was just gonna add to the to like the console kind of like from a young age. I would say the first one would be like Super Mario All-Stars back in the day was like a remake of the original Mario games for NES. So anyway, that's kind of a remake. That one's hard because it actually is a remake because they did build those games from the ground up again. There is new physics, etc., etc. But anyway, whatever. We're off topic. Sorry.
I just can't believe you started that with like go. Now my thing. But yeah, so I'm gonna say we're gonna go demakes under remakes. Anyway, so now here's the first question. I'm struggling to think of a remake or a remaster that I've played. Now, you're just mentioning, actually, the fact that we forgot to mention your video game, the Pokemon game. I think you might be the person to talk about this more because I know the Pokemon series has a history of re-releasing old games on new formats.
God, yes, they do.
It feels like that's a big thing for you. So I suppose, well, first of all, is there a market improvement you find with these remakes? Like when they when they bring back Pokemon, you know, Sword and Shield, Captain and Tennille, like do they get better, or is it just
we all know Captain and Tennille are two mini bosses in Destiny. Don't even.
Oh yeah, no, they okay. You know what? Just as an aside for listeners who are confused, like Captain and Tennille in Destiny, in the Sepik Strike, when you get to the place with the Walker,
only in Destiny 1 though.
In Destiny 1, yeah, there used to be like this captain and
a Shank.
No, Vandal. Yeah, and they would just show up and they were like jerks. Anyways, so I want your opinion on remakes and using specifically the example of Pokemon, because I'm talking, my experience is more what's happening now and what's going to happen in the future, for example, Mass Effect. But I don't really have a history with them, but it sounds like since you're a Pokemon player, you do. So first of all, are they improvements? Like when you hear, oh, they're doing a remake of Pokemon Alpha and Omega, like do you go like, oh shit, great, and it's probably going to be better? Like, is that a default thing, or is it more just like a cash grab in the exact same game?
Yes.
Okay.
So no, the long and short is, like, yeah, you're going to hope that a game made with current-ish technology is going to be better than the game that came out, like, whatever, 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But is it a blatant cash grab? Yeah. So, I mean, specifically with Pokemon, it's like every single time they remake a game, like, first of all, they've remade Gen 1, like, how many times now? Like, so many times. Most recently with Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, which, I mean, Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu is kind of like a Pokemon Go hybrid. Like Pokemon, it's a game to get Pokemon Go players into main series games, essentially.
Sorry, this is they took Pokemon Go and put it on a console is what this is, right?
Oh, it's like a hybrid. It's like instead of like you usually battle random Pokemon, in this one in Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, instead of battling them, you like catch them Pokemon Go style.
But sorry, are you playing on your phone or are you playing on your
on the Switch?
Like, on the Switch. Sorry, that's what I meant. Okay.
Yes. And then it's just like but there is the standard turn-based battle systems when you battle other trainers.
Right.
And it's fun. Like you can like I'd say the biggest selling point is like you can have your like Pokemon follow you. Like that's my favorite part. Just like seeing all the animations of like a shiny Charizard just like following your guy around. Like that's the best part. Then you have like
So I have to interrupt with a sidebar. It is hilarious how if you have any video game, it doesn't matter what your video game is, so long as you can monetize it. If you add, oh hey, it's your character, but you get a pet. Pets sell like hotcakes. People love seeing like an animal following their character around, and regardless of the game.
This one has too, because it's called Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu. So you have your like personal buddy Eevee or personal buddy Pikachu, and then you can also choose like another guy. So you can like ride on a giant Charizard with like your like Pikachu on your head. Like it's the best. But otherwise, like it's very much just like Gen 1. Like Pokemon is like Gen 1ers. Like if you love Gen 1, like it's just such a standard like throwback cash grab to just like be like throw a Charizard on the box. Everybody's gonna love it. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
No, this is the topic. That's actually leading into my next topic, but continue.
Anyway, yeah. So long story short is like, yeah, like you're going to hope that the, like usually generally like it is like the game is an improvement. There is going to be an improvement on it because it is, better technology. But a lot of times like, you play a remaster or whatever and you're like, this is what I remember the game looking like. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Is this any different? And then you actually look at screenshots of the old game. You're like, ooh, actually, yeah, this looks a lot better. But it's like, you have those nostalgia goggles on where you're like, you remember the game looking like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, whenever you play a game from the previous, whether it's a remaster or actually going back and playing a game, you'll be playing it and be like, wait, I remember this being like a super detailed, high resolution, crazy detailed model games, but no, this thing from 1999 is not holding up to my memories 100%. Which actually leads into my next question. That was a segue. That was terrible.
I smell whiffs of lavender.
Yeah, well, it's there, but it's not as strong as it should be. Like I
said whiffs.
I would like to take this moment to apologize to my listeners, to our fans, for the terrible segue that just happened and now is stalled out into an apology, which I also apologize for. So the question I have is, now Pokemon sounds like it's driven by corporate greed. Like it does sound like, hey, we have this thing, we're going to resell it. It's not taking much effort. Let's push it out there. But do you think that there is...
Whoa.
Oh, sorry. Do they put a lot of effort into it?
Yeah, I mean, there's enough effort. There's enough effort that it like, I don't know if it warrants it, but like it's appreciated. Like they look
okay, so but
fun.
Do you feel it's someone at the corporation saying, hey, if we do this remake, we can make some money? Or, hey, if we do this remake, it'd be cool to have this thing again and we can make some money? Like, do you think they feel that passion or interest in the old game and they want to update it? Or do you think it's like more corporate greed? Because to me, I've got to say, a lot of the remakes, and even the one that, okay, I'm once again have to apologize to the audience to admit that I'm pre-ordering something, but the Mass Effect thing that's coming out is definitely like a cash grab by Bioware, going, oh shit, our last two games have not done well. Let's push out something that everyone's going to like.
The old cash cow.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm wondering, like, I'm sort of talking about it because I haven't experienced a lot of it. I'm going to be turning to you for a lot of stuff because it sounds like you've had more of an experience. But when you're playing these remakes, do you feel, oh, you know what, I'm back where I am, this is great for nostalgia? Or do you have that sort of thing, or things like, I've already played this, why am I playing it again? Like, do you feel that they're worth it in your experience on average? Like, do you feel that buying them and spending the money, you've been getting like the same experience again, you're happy about it? Or do you feel it's like, oh, you know what, this was just me giving money to Pokemon Megacorp, or whatever the hell they're called?
I'm going to say almost the best part of a remaster is being able to play that game that you love on a current console. I think that's a lot of it. I mean, there are like,
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
You can buy the old game again or whatever, like, you know, on like the Switch Virtual Console or whatever. Like you can buy all the old games again, and I mean, if you play on PC, you have old games forever, essentially. Especially with Steam now, like it's a new thing. Especially with Steam, you can just like have games forever, essentially.
Hey man,
but like
it's only 17 years old.
but like, I mean, as far as like even like last generation and stuff, like the PS4, PS3, whatever, it's like unless like you're going to like Shadow of the Colossus, right? Like Shadow of the Colossus got remade multiple times. It got remade multiple times for multiple systems. It got remade for PS3. It was originally a PS2 game, got remade for PS3, got remade for PS4. Each one was, you know, a step up, a graphical fidelity. I never played the PS4 one. I played the PS2 one and the PS3 remake. Love them to death. But I never played the PS4 one. Anyway, so it's like, if you wanted to play, like say you had, you know, a PS3 that wasn't backwards compatible. So for argument's sake, there are PS3s that are backwards compatible, but this one wasn't, we'll say.
Right.
Unless you wanted, like if you wanted to play Shadow of the Colossus back in the day, like you got to dust off your old PS2 and you got to boot up, you know, Shadow of the Colossus. But, you know, with the remakes, you get to play it at a little, like those aren't even remakes. I'd say those are, I think the PS4 one was more of a remake, but I remember the PS3 one pretty much being a remaster. I didn't realize too many differences between the two. I think those were just a remaster, just like like an up-res.
So nothing. Well, you just answered the question I was going to ask. So it was just basically they took it, said, "Oh, here it is in 16:9 framing." And
honestly, man, I could be wrong, but that's how I remember it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It's like that one. This one, I'm kind of just plucking out of I'm just plucking out of memory. So anyway, so it's like unless you have that old console, you got to dust it off, plug it in, whatever, get that disc out and play it. But otherwise, like you can just like play like an up-res version. So I mean. Yeah, it is kind of a soulish cash grab. It is preying on nostalgia, but like also like whatever. Like if you love this game and you want to play it, like you know, this is one of your favorite games of all time. You want to play it at a graphical fidelity that's not gonna, you know, maybe make your eyes bleed. Then yeah, fuck, more power to you. Like I mean. I don't know. I feel like it's just both. I feel like I start off this conversation with a yes, and I'm going to end it with a yes. It's both.
Right. So would you say the motivation for a corporation? Because to me, it feels like when I hear that this is again from the perspective of someone who never played Pokemon as a kid. I'm not going to say I'm too old for it. It was just something that became popular
I'm
well
too
after
old
me.
for it. I'm too old. I was too old for it when it came out,
but you still enjoyed it. No, well,
I still enjoy it.
There's no age limit on gaming. Like, if you like a game and you enjoy playing it, it doesn't matter if it's aimed for kids or for senior citizens, like Ring Fit, I guess. You know, just play. That's what I say. But sorry, as someone who hasn't had the experience with a franchise turning out a bunch of remakes, I mean, unless you want to call Call of Duty, which, all right, that's a whole thing in of itself. But do you feel when you're playing it that there is a touch of the people who programmed it, the people who like created the remake saying, hey, we want to give you something better because we love this game? Or do you feel it is strictly just a company?
That's what I'm saying. It's both.
Both. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Now, I guess what I'm going to say is, this is sort of a weird one to phrase. Do you feel that since this is starting to become more and more of a thing, it's definitely like the number of remakes and remasters that have started showing up has increased dramatically over the last couple of years.
Oh, it's trending upwards for sure.
Yeah, and to me it feels a lot like they're basically saying, oh, you know what, the people who grew up on gaming are now starting to get to the age where they're getting nostalgia for, you know,
they
games
got
back.
Money.
And yeah, they're also employed now. They're no longer like a niche market that had to ask their parents to pick up the game at a consumer's distributing or something. Yeah, I'm that old. And now it's like they have jobs so they can spend money. So do you feel it's like, do you think companies should be devoting time to this overall, or do you feel it's a sign of slight creative bankruptcy? Because I will say it does feel, for me at least, a little sort of like it's like they kind of go, oh, well, you know, we have this property, we have this IP, let's just shove it out the door again. Like let's just make a little money, kind of like in the way that the Mass Effect remaster, which has been begged for a long time, like the fans been asking for like ever since pretty much Mass Effect 3 came out. But since Bioware just had two unsuccessful games in a row, like in Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem, it feels to me right now, it's like I'm glad it's coming out, but it does feel like a cash grab. And do you think it would be better for companies to put resources towards remastering and re-releasing things, or do you feel that those resources should be put on new ideas, or at least a new sequel to the game? I guess is the question. Does that make sense to you? Like, do you feel?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm going to want new things, I guess, is the long and short of it. Like, of course, I want a new IP, a new, whatever, new franchise. But at the end of the day, like, these corporations, they want to make money, and they know that one of the easiest ways to make money is to fucking prey off of people's nostalgia and just kind of like ship something, like, slap a coat of paint on something, update some mechanics, fix some bugs that were present, and just like kind of ship it. So, I mean, of course I'd want, resources, time, money, people hours, whatever, to just go into making a new thing. But I think the perfect example of this, and you and I have talked about this many times, but it's our weekly Destiny talk. But
what is this game? I've never heard of it.
So essentially Destiny 2 came out, and they just wanted to, like, this, because Bungie was all maybe forced a little bit to put, Destiny 2 out, slap it, release a new game, put a number 2 on the box, and ship that, maybe because of Activision. So now that Activision's gone, Destiny 2 has always been bringing back Destiny 1 content, but now essentially they're kind of have this Destiny Vault where they're kind of bringing back old stuff. It's kind of like this one seamless universe. So it's like you and I have had this conversation before where it's like, I'm like, I wanted a Destiny universe from like the beginning. It's like this ongoing story. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, get all the strikes in there, get all the planets, and like, this is before the content vault. We've had this conversation for years. So I'm like, get all the planets in there, like, get all the destinations, get all the fucking raids, get all the strikes, like everything. I want everything in Destiny and make it one universe. And you're like, and then you were saying like, no, like, that's gonna eat up too much man hours. Like, I like old stuff, but if it's at the cost of new stuff, then I don't want it.
I stand by that statement still to this day, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I don't mean to put words into your mouth, but I just, as you said, you.
No, that was a direct quote. I even used your voice when I was doing it.
So it's like, yes, I agree with you, but it's like, if it's gonna happen, just make it, like, do it right. You know what I mean? I guess is the thing. It's like and then in the Destiny universe, you do have these two kind of almost trains of thoughts where they brought back the moon, and the moon is very much a remake of it's a remake of the moon. It's not just a remaster, it's a remake where, there's, new areas. There's like that kind of whole new Soros Harbor area. There's like the Red Keep area, or is that what's called, the Red Keep? Scarlet Keep, yeah. Scarlet Keep. Has a Scarlet Keep area. Like the old areas are all like mashed up, and there's like, fissures, and it's like broken apart, whatever. It's very different. It's very much a remake. But then you have the Cosmodrome, which was also in Destiny 1, which the Cosmodrome is very much, and the Cosmodrome is just a place on Earth where in old Russia, where it's very much just a copy and paste. Like,
oh, it's almost identical. Like, they've added some places you can go to, like side buildings and stuff like that, but it is very much
I think
the
just
same
like the
place.
lost sectors. I think just like they added lost sectors. That's it.
I feel when you're doing the battlegrounds, there's like the one on Cosmodrome, when you start going inside after you've had the initial outside fight. I feel part of that area. Some of it I know is old, but I feel like some of that is new. But I could be wrong, to be honest. Like,
I think that's all old. I think that's all old.
Oh, there you go. I don't remember it, because
I could be wrong. Anyway.
I'll say from my standpoint, my opinion about remakes and remasters is, if there is a massive demand for it, go for it. Like Final Fantasy VII, I know the fans have been wanting to remake or remaster that for a long time, and
now they're remaking the remake.
Wait, what?
Final Fantasy VII, yeah, they're not, because they were going to do the Final Fantasy VII in like installments, like the new remake in installments, like in episodes.
Yeah. But instead,
no, they canceled it, and now they're just going to release like it as one big thing, including the first part, but then it's gonna have like all this other stuff, like back in the day there was like side games like Dirge Cerberus, and then like a bunch of like other side games. So it's gonna be like an entire Final Fantasy VII like compendium, like a fucking just anthology of everything Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, so it won't be like released in parts of it, because I know they released the first and the second part.
I think just the first. I think I could be wrong, but I think just the first.
They went, oh, you know what? We're not going to drip feed it. We're just going to give you the next update will be everything else in one big chunk,
including the first part. But then they're updating the first part. But they're updating the first part. So that's what I'm saying. So they're like, so that first part that they released, it's honestly I can see all kind of almost like a proof of concept or like a demo or whatever, but that just means like how long has that been in development for? Now they're gonna add how much more time to it. But anyway,
yeah.
Sorry, you were saying, if my apologies, I didn't mean to interrupt. You were saying
no. I asked you what was going on there. I didn't. Because my impression was still just episode by episode. I didn't realize it was going to be one big dump. And we thought there was no video game news this week. When did they announce that? Like months ago.
Like 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more. A couple weeks ago.
Could have been video game news. But anyway, sorry, what I've been saying though.
Well, the big news is the Bethesda news. Like, Microsoft.
Oh yeah. The quote about how they're like, yeah, basically we bought Bethesda to make it as exclusive as possible. In very corporate ease. It's long story short, listeners. If you want to see a quote that's very much just like, we're not going to do the thing that you don't want us to do. We're going to do it. That was the quote. But for me, getting back on topic, with the remakes, remasters, personally, I think a remake and a remaster is fine is if there's a big demand for it. Like, and I'm obviously biased, but like the Mass Effect remaster, I've wanted it for years, and there's always been like talk about it every N7 day. They would go, maybe they're going to announce, and they never did until this year or last year. But I do feel, though, that and actually it's good you brought up Destiny, because that's sort of a great example. Like, the moon they released in Shadowkeep was new. It used some of the old places, but it was basically like it was remade. It was redone, like not like from the ground up. Yeah, but they added enough that I would consider it like a remake almost, because it's basically, I'd say it's about like, it feels like it's 50-50, but there's a lot of new stuff there.
That's a little generous. That's a little generous.
You know me, we're trying to get that Bungie to sponsor the show. If you're listening, Bungie, we will say great things about your game if you give us big fat stacks of cash.
All hail Sabathun.
All hail Sabathun. Moo moo, the moon is full of cheese. I don't remember the song. But when it's just basically, like, here's one that I did get I remembered, actually, finally, a remaster that I did play. This was the Warriors remaster released by Rockstar.
What? Was it a remaster? I thought it was just a straight port.
Oh, was it a straight port? Because I remember it being like, it's 16:9 now and not much else. So maybe even that's it. Like, okay, maybe even that's not even a remaster.
I think that was straight up just, I think that...
Oh, okay, cool.
Because I remember we bought that on the same day. I remember we were at work and we were like, remember that game, The Warriors? And we're like, yeah. And then I remember we just like both went on our phone and like bought it and like started to download for PS4. Well,
again, like this points out I'm not really paying attention to remasters. So if that's the one that I'm thinking of as a remaster, and then you're saying it's not 100%. Oh, you know what is a great remaster, actually? I'm staring at it right now, the fucking Tony Hawk on PC. Yeah, that's definitely a remaster, and it's fantastic. So there are ones that I like, but overall, I'm going to say my opinion is, if you have a company that has resources, put them into a new idea or a sequel to a current idea. I find just in general, it just doesn't appeal to me. Like, there's one or two remasters that I've played. Yes, absolutely. Like, again, Mass Effect, Tony Hawk. But on the whole, I feel like it's a bit of... it should only be done for certain games, I think is what I'm saying. Like, there's certain games that deserve to have a remaster or remake because I'd love to see them introduced to a new generation. But on the whole, I don't know. I think it's a trend that shows...
sorry. Go on. My bad.
No. You've already interrupted. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think it also has something to do with maybe when the game was made, the creators, like, the technology just wasn't there to fully realize their idea. So I think that's when it warrants a remake, not just like, for instance, I hate to keep bringing it back to Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear Solid is essentially a remake of Metal Gear for...
Don't worry, this was your first mention of it this episode. You're good.
For the Famicom disk system, it was a remake for the original Metal Gear. Essentially, it's a remake where the original technology on the Famicom disk system just wasn't there. Like Kojima couldn't fully realize his idea. I mean, I'm sure he couldn't fully realize it in Metal Gear Solid, and there was Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, which is another remake. That one would be a remaster, I'd say. No, you know what? That one's a remake. Because it's remade from the ground up. Anyway. So it's like maybe the technology is just not there for at the time when the game was made. The game the game director or producer or whatever, the team that made it, just they were held back by technological specs. And like, who knows? Like, maybe in the future, like, that won't be so much of an issue. But like, if you're gonna like fully remake a game, like, might as well remake a good game. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, for me, and maybe we're on the same page here, it sounds like we're in mild favor of me, mild, maybe you stronger, of remakes, where you take a game and then you update everything, you make it so you take out the bad and the good, over remasters, which are more like, here's the same game, it has 4K, but it's pretty much the same game. So, but you actually brought up my next topic. You're doing the segue work, not me. I love it. I don't
even have your topic. I have your topics like up, but I'm not like looking at them. Like I just pre-read them.
You're just that good. He's just that good a podcaster. Everybody, he's planning to go do a history of something podcast by himself. I know, and leave me.
The history. I don't even know what I could do. Like the history of
Destiny.
I mean, well, yeah, but
well, Bife's got that covered. So the question is this. Are there games you think deserve to be remade or remastered even? Like, is there right now something from your childhood or even just a few years ago or a decade ago where you're like, you know what? I'd like to see this brought up to modern standards. And not just every game. I mean, I'm sure you could go to every game and say, yeah, this would be a better game if it was made with modern graphics. But is there something where you're itching almost, not just for myself, but I'd love people who are more into gaming today who weren't into gaming back then or never got exposed to it, they should see this. They should play this. This was a great game. I really want everyone to know about it. I want this game remade. So is there anything that jumps out to you?
I think, and this one's a bit of a fan favorite, and like it's this one's a bit of a kind of oddball. It's not so much. So, I mean, obviously every Mario Kart game has always been an improvement, but specifically Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube introduced a mechanic where you could have two drivers in the same car.
Are you just yelling at each other like, I'm driving, no, I'm driving?
I mean, you could, or you could work together. So one person, I mean, you can play on the same team, like you can play in the same car, like you can play one person per car, and like one player per car, and you have like two drivers and you like switch between them. But then you can also play like 2-player cooperative where you're each like in the same car and you can like swap drivers. And that mechanic was always, I thought, really cool, and they never brought that back. So I think a remake of specifically Double Dash would be cool. But I mean, it's like, is every Mario Kart? I mean, it's a sequel, so it's not a remake. That's different. That's different. So yeah, I mean, I guess a remake of Mario Kart Double Dash, just off the top of my head. I'm sure there's other ones. How about you? Is there something? Obviously, Mass Effect, your favorite series, is getting.
Well, it's already happening.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's something other than that game.
Then that game, yes, exactly. Well, it was funny when we came up with this topic. I initially was thinking more of a list, so I was trying to figure out which game specifically I wanted. And there's two games I'd like to bring up, and I'll try and be quick about this. The first is a strategy game from the 90s called Alpha Centauri. It was basically Civilization 2 in space, where you could, but it had a very dystopian tint to it. Like, it wasn't, and what didn't have Civilization at the time's whole thing, like, whether you're the Aztecs or the Romans or the Americans or the Chinese, you're the same. There's no real big difference. This one actually introduced asymmetrical factions where, you know what, if you played as these guys, you have to have a different strategy than these guys, and your end goal is a little different. You know, there's limitations and advantages to each one. So I feel Alpha Centauri should be remade. And here's the crazy part, people. I hope you're sitting down. It already has been. They made a game. Firaxis released a game called Civilization Beyond Earth that was essentially Alpha Centauri, and it is basically, if you ever wondered what a yawn would be like as a video game, it's that. It's so just sort of like,
I love yawns.
Hey, I'm not saying yawns are bad. I'm just saying it's not going to keep you up at night. It's not going to be like focused. I remember playing it, and it was just, it's so average. I'm not going to say quite mediocre. It wasn't that bad, but it was just so like unimaginative, and it was not good. So long story short, for that, my first game is Alpha Centauri. I would love to see that remade, but keep it right to the original. Like, keep the same factions, keep the same, like, you know, the wonders you're building are things like, you know, oh, we can nerf staple our population. You know, like, why should they have emotions? They'll work better if they don't have them. You know, that's something that I strongly believe in today. Anyways, and the second one is BioWare's Jade Empire. This was a great game. Kind of, I believe it was between the transition from KOTOR to Mass Effect, and it's a fantastic game. It takes place in a fake mythological China, like essentially China, but not with real world locations. But there's stuff like it's like an old I guess like a karate movie, but there's a term for it, like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon in a video game.
Like Kung Fu movie?
Yeah, Kung Fu movies and stuff like that. But there's a whole thing about Chi, and it's kind of funny because they made this after KOTOR, and KOTOR we've all played. I'm assuming a lot of people have played. You'll know you choose a path, whether you become a light Jedi or dark Jedi, whether you start using dark powers or light powers. This has the exact same thing, except it's called Chi, and there's the way of the fist and the way of the heart or palm. Like, in the fist is strong strength, essentially the dark side, and the other one is, you know, healing and kind of defense and whatever, and it's essentially the light side. So it's a really interesting game because you kind of see a chapter of where BioWare was in its evolution, and it's also just a solid game. Like, it's a really fun game. It's good story, great characters. So those are where I stand on remakes. I feel those two are ones I'd love to see, but on the whole, I feel companies should be focusing on a demand for something. Like, if there's a vocal group saying, hey, we want to see this updated, look at it. Don't just go, oh, what have we got in our library? What do we own? So
you don't like remakes, and you feel like money should be put for developing new things, except for things that you like.
Well, no, what I'm saying is there should be a demand for it. No. You're basically right. What I'm saying is there should be a significant demand. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's games I've loved as a kid that I'd like to see, but there's not enough people know about them to make it worthwhile. So I just say it strikes me as a little lazy by the companies and developers to try and remake and re-release everything, which I'm sure they'll eventually start doing, even more than they are today. So, yeah, maybe I'm a bit hypocritical, but I'm going to stand by this statement.
I like this new trend now. This is kind of switching gears a little bit, but I do like this new trend now. It's not a demake that we talked about, but I mean, it is in a way, maybe a little bit. But this new trend of like the new Sonic games, and the new the new like Mega Man games and stuff that, like, you know, they went from like a 2D platformer to like a 3D environment, and now they're going back to like the 2D platformer, and you see that with like the new Sonic franchise. Like, there's like the I think it's called Sonic Mania, and then there's like the like Mega Man like 8 and stuff like that. They went back to like the 2D style, and it's like that's super cool. Where you kind of like, you know, they're almost going back to this kind of older style. Not to say that, you know, you can't make a 2D platformer look good, but it's like, you know, it is maybe a bit of an older style that, you know, they're taking the current technology, current art, and whatever, and just like making these games look gorgeous. Where, you know, like something like the Mega Man games, especially, where it's like, you know, they're not held back by technology anymore, and they can just be this like crazy 2D platformers. So I don't know, that's something super cool. Seeing these like kind of, I don't know if you would call those demakes. They're like kind of sequels, spiritual successors done in a older way. I guess they're kind of demakes.
Well, to me, it sounds like you're describing sequels. I mean, unless they're specifically, we took the Sonic 1997 game and just remade it. It's the same sort of levels, the same pattern for the most part. We just changed and made it, updated the graphics. That sounds like a remaster, but I'm actually all in favor of taking old mechanics and updating them, but keeping them for the quote current gen. And not everything has to be a first person shooter or a third person cover shooter. You know, like, you can take 2D side scrollers in 2D games. Personally, I'm not a fan of them. Not in the sense that I think they're a bad idea. It's just that they're not for me. But yeah, those sound like sequels. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. With remakes,
you're right. They wouldn't be a remake or remaster, because it is like new content. Like, it's
it's a new
storyline.
Yeah,
new levels, like yada yada yada. So it's not. That's why I would hesitate calling it a demake, and that's why I was struggling coming with a word for it. But I mean, when we're talking about this kind of topic, it's
relevant. Absolutely,
it's a side relevant tangent for sure.
Yeah, and tangents are always a good thing. Yeah, so I guess to wrap up this part of the conversation, do you ever think industry, first of all, will start remaking remakes? If that starts happening, is that pure laziness, or do you think it's fine for every, let's say, 10?
They already have started remaking remakes.
Oh wow,
like
crazy.
with Shadow Colossus, like that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, like do you find that's like, more of a cash grab? Is that more of a like, okay, come on, we got
even like Super Mario 3 has been remade like multiple times. Like there was like one for like the game, like there was the Super Mario 3, the Super Mario All Stars that was released in the 90s for like Super Mario 3 came out for Famicom, and then for the NES stateside for North America. But then it was re-released. So there was I mentioned it earlier. There was a remake called Mario All Stars that was Mario 1, 2, and 3, and Mario the Lost Levels, which was Mario 2 in Japan. And then they took this game called Doki Doki Palace. Doki Doki Panic, and then turned it into Mario 2. And then anyway, so they took those games, Mario 1, 2, and 3 plus Lost Levels, and then remade them for SNES, and then they remade Mario 3 again for the Game Boy Advance, and it's just like they've like resold that game so many times. So it's like, yeah, we're already at the point now where they're like remaking games multiple times.
Yeah, and to me that feels like, there comes a point when I think you should be focusing on something new, even if it's the same, like you were talking about the demake. We decided they weren't really demakes; they were sequels. But like, if you can have the same like world, the same IP, the same essential mechanics and stuff like that. But I think that companies should try and focus more on always bringing something new to the table rather than retreading old ground, or
I mean, I agree. I hope so, but I feel like it's a trend that they're like, if we make a new IP, there's like a huge risk, right? You make a new IP,
absolutely.
The huge risk. Well, it's like you just remake an old game. You're if it's not bad, you're pretty much guaranteed to make money. Even if it is bad, you're pretty much guaranteed to make money. If not, like maybe not make. Like even I remember I grabbed that Tony Hawk Pro Skater remake that from a couple of years ago on PS3, I think it was, maybe PS4.
Oh, was there a Pro Skater remake on PS3?
Oh, it was god awful. They charged expansion. They had to buy an expansion pack for reverts. I remember.
What?
Yeah, you didn't get, like, when you bought the base game, you didn't get reverts. Which reverts are like a way to like link vert tricks. Like if you go up a ramp, when you land, you can hit a revert, and then you can manual, and then you can like link tricks.
Reverts are the things you do on the lip. No, wait, which ones?
No, reverts are like when you like go up a ramp, and then you like a half pipe or a quarter pipe, and you like go up a quarter pipe, and then you land back down, and you pull like a little 180. That's called a revert. Like you can pull a 180.
Right.
Like, and then you can link a manual to that, and then you're linking vert tricks together with manuals like flatland tricks. Then you can go manual up to another ramp, do a trick, land, revert, manual, whatever. Anyway, manuals were in the base game. Reverts weren't. And it's like you had to buy like a $9.99 expansion pack with like all this other shit, like extra skaters, an extra level or two, and then you got reverts. But I essentially bought it just because I wanted reverts. Anyway, that's a side tangent. I never played the new Tony Hawk. You love it. I keep meaning to purchase it, but you love the new Tony Hawk.
I played the hell out of it. It's still sitting on my desktop.
That Tony Hawk remake was god awful. I still played the shit out of it though, don't get me wrong. But as I was playing it for nostalgia, but I'm like, this is terrible. Like I knew it was terrible. And it was like the sunken cost fallacy where it's like, I've already spent like $38 on this game. I'm gonna fucking play it.
I'm gonna get my money's worth out of it because I've already spent money. And especially with that whole, I find sunken cost fallacy gets even worse when you don't like what you're putting the money into. So like it's like, oh, this thing is like terrible. I really need to get like my money's value out of this. Yeah, and I also learned today that the only skateboarding maneuver I remember is the manual. That's it. I know that one, but I couldn't tell you what a Benihana is or a flying.
I grew up on that shit. I could tell you all of it.
Oh yeah, no, I know you were a hardcore skater as a kid.
No, I definitely wasn't. I mean, I skateboarded a little bit, but yeah, like my friend skated and shit, and like whatever.
He was champion Ontario skater from 1996 to 99. Everybody, don't look that up. That fact is 100% real.
Number 173. That's a reference very few people will get. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just shout out random stuff too. In jokes, you gotta love them, or no, you don't. So I think we've covered it. Now, final thoughts. Overall, remakes, remasters. My opinion is, in certain situations, yes, but generally, I'd rather people were spending their time working on something new. Andrew Lanza, what do you feel? Final thoughts on Remakes Remasters?
Yeah, so my biggest thing is when you got to bring something new to the table when you're doing a remake. I think the perfect example of that would be one of my favorite games of all time, A Link to the Past. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past on the SNES was remade for the 3DS. And saying it was a remake, that's like generous. Like, it was barely a remake. It was so much more. Like, they added new dungeons. They added a new mechanic where you could like kind of go 2D into a wall. Like, it was like a top down adventure game, like the old 3D game. It had like essentially kind of the same maps. Like, you had like the light world and the dark world, but like they were so different. And one of the cool things of the game was you could beat the dungeons in any order you wanted. You could rent the items from a store.
Could you not beat the dungeons in any order in the original?
No. Everything was very much gated. You could you did one dungeon, then you like got a new mechanic or like a new item or whatever that added a new mechanic, and now you opened up a new area, and then that new area you did a thing, and then there was a new dungeon. You got in the new dungeon, you got a new item or whatever, and then you open up a new area, etc., etc., etc. There was a little shop in like the kind of in the main area. You went to the shop and you purchased an item, and then that item opened up the other world. But then you had to like grind out some like rupees or whatever, and then you could also buy the items, and then you could have the item forever, whatever. But it was super cool that they added a new mechanic of like, as I said, you could go into like the wall and become like a fresco painting almost, and you could like kind of move along the wall. So it's like you have these two giant, like, you have this giant cavern in between two platforms. You just like just go against the wall, walk against the wall, and then you can pop back out onto the other platform. It was super cool. As I said, that one was barely a remake. So if you're bringing something new to the table, by all means, like, remake an old game, that's cool. You're bringing something new to the table. It's just when you kind of like slap a fresh coat of paint on something, maybe fix a couple bugs, where it's like that might be a soulless cash grab. But then, as I said before, it could be, some people don't have that old system, so they never got to play it. Maybe some people, they sold that old system. Maybe they sold that game. The game's for whatever. Could be a million different reasons. Nowadays it's a bit different. You own things kind of across platforms. PS5 is a little bit more backwards compatible. It's more of like you own the game in your cloud. Nintendo, I'm looking at you. Maybe you should catch up. But once you own the game in the cloud, you kind of own it forever now. With Steam, that's the way. It's kind of moving that way towards console. Again, not so much with Nintendo, but hopefully one day. Anyway, it's nice for you to be able to play an older game on current hardware. And I think at the end of the day, my biggest thing is bring something to the table.
I agree, and I just thought of something. What if this is all like a real, like, Steam is a super long con by Gabe Newell, and just one day everyone fires up Steam and he's just like taking all the games away and he's just disappears. My God, I think that's his plan.
Leave me my save files.
Oh God, we're gonna get killed now because we figured it out. Well, I basically think we have covered remakes. So now we're moving on to one last little thing, an update on our Steam games we buy for each other games on Steam thing that I really have not figured out a good title for. And Andrew, do you have anything?
Steam Gift Exchange, I feel like, is the best thing that we've ever come up with.
I don't love it, but it's better than what I have by a country mile. So, Steam Gift Exchange. It's a mouthful. Steam Gift Exchange. It's hard to say, I feel like. You know what, listeners? Add us on. We often release on Instagram or whatever. DM us, add us if you come up with a good title for this. If you can think of something, we would love it, and we will steal that idea from you like the thieves we are.
Send us a letter to our P.O. box.
Yes. What's a letter? Is that like an email you print out? Anyways, so last time we talked about this, we were saying, we'll review the games when we get to this point. But the truth is, I've played a bit of Beyond Good and Evil, but I haven't finished it yet. And I don't think you finished Half-Life 2, right?
Correct.
So this is just going to be our initial impressions. I'd like to get further. Now, we may not necessarily have finished for the next episode, but we'll definitely do our final thoughts on the games the next episode. But I want to do a little bit more Beyond Good and Evil. You want to do a little more Half-Life 2. So, Andrew, starting with you, Half-Life 2. How's it going? Do you like Studio 17? Do you want to live there?
Yeah, I actually really dig Half-Life 2 so far. It's like super like straightforward. There's like a couple like little puzzles here and there where I'm like, all right, well, what do I do? It's not like puzzles, more just kind of like figuring out where to go. Like, I don't know, I guess you're kind of spoiled with games nowadays. Games nowadays are very much like a like follow the icon. Well, not all games, but a lot of games are like follow the icon, like follow what the thing says to do. This is just kind of like go, like find your way through this area and shoot some guys. So far I haven't found a weapon that I necessarily love. Like I feel like the aiming is like not like it's kind of floaty.
Well, how far have you gotten? Sorry, like at what point are you in the story?
I like just like made my way through the sewer kind of area. So like I'm still like pretty early on. I haven't played like a huge amount, but I feel like I'm digging it so far. I'm looking forward to more gameplay. I think I can see why it was so revolutionary at the time. And obviously like the graphics are a bit dated, but like man, like I don't know, like it holds up, like it looks decent. And obviously I'm playing at like jacked settings and shit. But yeah, it's a fun game so far. I'm really digging it. I can't wait to play more. Is the long and short of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's a great game, and I'll tell you right now. Right now, I think you have the pistol and the machine gun.
The sub.
Yeah. Those aren't. The pistol is kind of like it's almost like an Omelon pistol, weirdly in Destiny. How it
very
doesn't
squishy.
It doesn't feel good, and the machine gun's okay, but the game really gets better when you. Well, I won't tell you what you get, but once you'll get better and more interesting types of weapons further on. I guarantee you it'll become more, okay, this is more fun. Though I will say you will never fully abandon the pistol or the machine gun just because ammo at times is at a restriction. So just a heads up on that. But otherwise, I'm glad to hear that you seem to like it. Yeah, it's great.
What do you think about Beyond Good and Evil so far?
Whew, I'm glad you asked me that because I didn't want to ask it myself. That seems arrogant. I love it. I actually have a story about it. So I'm in physiotherapy for some posture and shoulder issues, and I was talking to my physiotherapist as we do every week, and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing? We're on your podcast." I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm playing Beyond Good and Evil." She's like, "Oh my god, I used to have that as my ringtone. I love that game." And
no way.
Yeah, no. And she sent me the link. I can't remember what it was, but I think it's the one when you're getting chased by looters.
Oh, I love the song Propaganda. Propaganda. You know that
No, it's
one?
not that. Actually, I do know that song. I've heard that song. I think that's the one that plays in the bar or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one that plays in the bar. I love that song.
No, it's. I gotta say, I am enjoying my time with it. It's not something I find I can play for more than like 45 minutes or in a sitting, because then I find it doesn't wear out its welcome story wise. I just find sort of the controls on a PC are really awkward. I've got to check to see if there's like a controller mod for it, because using it on the keyboard and mouse when it's doing that whole sometimes your camera's following you and other times the camera's up in the corner and you have to kind of adjust it. It's a little fun.
Use that app I use. What's it called? It overrides everything, and then just you can DS4 Windows.
I want to get it something that's specifically for it. I think I've had problems with that. I mean, I'll try it, but yeah. Anyways,
so you can use a controller. It's exactly what you're looking for. You're like, I need to get an app so I can use a controller. That's the thing.
Well, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something an actual mod for. Because I find apps that just add controller use to everything can be a little like thing. And you know what? I should give it a shot at least, see if it works. But what I'd love to is if somebody actually created a mod specifically for Beyond Good and Evil and restored its controller capabilities. Like Mass Effect 2
I use it on first-person shooters, and it holds up nicely. I assume it can handle...
Well, what first-person shooters have you used it on?
Doom and also Deep Rock Galactic.
Well... Okay, but that's what you're using is something that allows the PlayStation 4 to be seen as a controller. It's not adding controller support to a game. Some games just won't have it.
It works really well. I'm saying it works really well.
Yeah, but it's not what I'm looking for in this. What I would want is something that adds controller support to Beyond Good and Evil, because Beyond Good and Evil doesn't have it right off the bat. It's the only way you can interact with the game is mouse and keyboard.
I understand. I'm saying if you downloaded this little app, it would just do it. And it works very well.
Oh, I hope you're right. I will check it out. Anyways, I'm liking this game. It's got an interesting story. Like, it's a little cartoony. I'm not going to say for my liking. It's just like, it's a little jokey here and there. But, it's great. I'm having a fun time trying around. Something else I like is that it starts very in media res, to use the term, where it doesn't have like a big, here's why this world is like this way. You're just like, doing some yoga meditation on a rock with a lemur person, I think. And then suddenly, oh shit, the Doms are invading. Oh, so you fight them, and then here comes the Alpha Squad. Like, I like the fact that it doesn't do a lot of setup. It just kind of drops you in right away, and it doesn't say, oh, the reason why this world is full of both humans and animal people is because of this. It just kind of goes. I like it, and it's fun, and it's sort of it's enjoyable. The controls are the only thing I'm struggling with, and again, after about 45 minutes or so, that I'm like, okay, you know what, I need to take a break from this. But it's great. Yeah, so far I'm liking it, and I'll have my final review at the end of the next episode, I suppose. So yeah, it's great. Thank you for getting it for me.
No problem. Thank you for getting me.
You're welcome. I know you love that game. I know secretly you're just passionate about it. You just. Is that all you're playing these days? RRR.
Negative.
Okay then. Well. All right. Fine. I buy a guy a game. No, I actually remember when you screen shared and showed me play. I'm like, ooh, this does not look fun. Even if you do like 2D platformers, it's very. You have to be razor sharp on point in every level. There's only one way to beat it, kind of thing.
Well, it's not even you have to be razor sharp on point. It was you were fighting against the actual physics and mechanics of the game because it was so poorly made.
Yep. Well, you win some, you lose some. And I guess that about wraps it up for us here at the podcast known as Buffs and Nerfs, and at Mind Refinery production. I'm Sam Hall.
I'm Andrew Lanza.
There we go. And we wish you all a very merry whatever day it is. Ides of March, watch out if you are the leader of a Roman Republic. Your stepson, I think, is probably planning to kill you with a bunch of senators. It's the vibe check to end all vibe checks. All right, you guys have a good one. Andrew, you take it easy, and yeah, we'll be back soon.